Rangers in space.
Wow.
Welcome to Was It Good, the podcast that discusses anything and everything and anything in between. I'm Ravi, joined by my two brothers, Christian and Arjuna, and today we are talking specifically about Hollywood fuck-ups. To the point, we're going to be talking about $300 million budgets that had zero cultural impact, final seasons that broke fandoms, and careers that were nuked by a single slap.
Oh,
I mean,
I wonder who you're talking about there.
I'm
feel
talking
you're
about Ellen
actually talking
DeGeneres.
about-
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's a good one. I hope that's on
That
the
is-
list. That's a
That is
good one.
definitely that is definitely on the list. We're going to get to the celebrity pieces and careers, I think, towards the end. But first, I want to talk about TV shows. This was all spurred on in my little brain because of the recent Netflix fiasco known as Stranger Things. As we all know, we watched that final season, and it ended, and we were like, "Great, can it get worse?" Then there was a whole conspiracy thing about Conformity Gate and the secret episodes. That never happened. And then the icing on the cake was the 2-hour Netflix documentary. I don't know if either of you guys have you looked or heard anything about this documentary and
I've
like what
seen
was
some
revealed.
of the social clips. I haven't watched it yet. Don't know if I will, but I've just seen that it basically confirms, I think, what we all felt in that they didn't have a plan. This is basically the next. What's the two guys who did Game of Thrones? Benioff and Wise.
Wise.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
Russo brothers.
They're the next duo.
You know, they're like the next duo, but just didn't have a plan entering into their last season. Now, what I will say is that they created the show. It was their idea. They weren't waiting on George R. R. Martin to write mythical books that never would finish. Concerning, I think the other big thing I saw for the documentary was like they forgot a key fact. They forgot so Robin, played by Maya Hawke, had only come out to a couple characters, or a couple characters knew about her coming out, and they had a scene where Caleb McLaughlin, who plays Lucas, knew, and Maya Hawke had to be the one to tell them like, hey, his character doesn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, some other like highlights, Christian, that were revealed in the documentary was when they filmed the first part, like part one, there was no final script, right? So there's a lot of production differences between that first part, second part, and the final part. They're
making an Avengers movie.
Storyboards. There was no references, so you have to like really give it to production design. They were just kind of verbally told, this is what we're thinking. And then I think the other big thing, I don't know, June, if you saw this, the Duffers said they didn't want to be writers. They want to be directors. And it's like, this is your thing, though. Like, started out as writers.
That's why, what's his name? They had to hook up with, what's his name, who helped show run the show, Sean Levy.
Sean Levy.
They didn't have any directing experience. They wrote it, and they had this idea, and Netflix was going to just hand them the show, so they need an experienced director like Sean. And yeah, everybody wants to do something that they don't have experience in. It's great.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a great way to start off this pod. Fuck ups. Entertainment Hollywood fuck ups. So that's a good one. That's the most recent one. And wow. I know we shouldn't get into tangents right away, but is the whole starting big projects without finished scripts, why is this a thing? Why is this a regular occurrence in these big projects?
I think it actually boils down to something, Christian, you're probably very familiar with when it comes to creativity. It's hard to finish something.
Yep.
But they're getting paid so much money.
Even remove the money, remove every part of it, right? Like, I think to tell a complete story is very difficult. Quite clearly, right? It is hard to finish something. A TV show, most of the time, you don't know what the ending is, right? If you go back to the old production ways, you were writing these seasons as they came. You maybe would come up with it. You would figure out maybe where you were going at some point.
But Arjuna,
sure.
Is it harder to finish mapping out your story in 2025, 2026 than it was in 1982? Like, I don't understand. What?
No.
Like,
Here's the difference now.
Yeah.
The studios, I think, will bend over backwards if they feel like they have a good idea, right? Everyone is about selling something. So when let's take Stranger Things, for example. When they made the first season of Stranger Things, nobody thought or nobody knew it was going to be this runaway hit. Nobody knew that it was going to turn into this cultural phenomenon. That was, 2016, 2017, 2016, when the world of Netflix with their originals was just like, we need to get stuff out. We just need to put stuff out there. So they paid some money, gave the show a shot, and then it exploded. And they were like, okay, you could, we need a second season quickly. So a second season came out in a year, right? Regular television production timeline. You have a year to make this, figure it out. The constraints, like we kind of talked about in the last podcast, of sometimes the constraints of that rigorous production spur creativity or put you in a good direction, or they don't. And then after that second season success, they're like, okay, this is the most successful thing we've ever made on Netflix. So you get to dictate how you make this now. You can take as long as you want. You can have as much money as you need. You can do X, Y, or Z. And I think that's what happened in the Stranger Things realm. And I think that's what happens with a lot of these things, where it's like, it becomes, we got to hit a certain date or we got to get a certain thing out. It's like Marvel movies. They're just like, we got to churn these out as quickly as possible. That none of them have scripts. They have like outlines or like 2 pages, right?
Isn't that one of the things James Gunn semi-famously said when he started over at DC?
Yep.
He said something along the lines of, we're not going to greenlight movies unless the script's already done.
Correct. And so like, it's
what a concept.
Right. What a concept. So I think that is what's changed. Like, I think in 1982, there were more people like James Gunn where it's like, you have to have the proof of concept in writing to do it. And now it's like, the IP is the proven concept. You're making an Iron Man movie. Great. We don't need a script. We just know Iron Man's going to sell toys, and you can basically put out whatever you want.
The script reads me.
The best example of all of this, I think, is the guy that does the pitch meetings on YouTube, where he's like, hey, I've got an idea for you. And it's like, they're just talking about like the vibes and, not a fleshed out story or whatever. I mean, here's a question for you both. Like, where do you compare this? Like, up until I think Stranger Things, the other biggest cultural blunder or fuck up for TV show was Game of Thrones.
Sure.
Like, do you consider Stranger Things fuck up worse or less than like the Game of Thrones one?
I think less. I think Game of Thrones was like probably the last monoculture television show we had where like everybody was watching that show at once. Stranger Things was like massively popular, but I don't think it was on the same level as Game of Thrones.
Not quite. Doesn't feel that way.
And I think for Game of Thrones, what hurt it more is it was a developed IP and it was a deviation of that original IP, and it has like had these major ripple effects where George R. R. Martin has basically, in so many words said he's never going to finish the books anyway now because the show fucked it up.
Well, he's got also all of his spin-offs. Like, if I'm George R. R.
He's also
Martin,
never going to finish those either, by the way.
Well, that's the thing though. Why does he need to? Like, he's financially doing pretty well. He's getting the attention that he probably wants, right? He wants to be able to like, hey, look here's the stuff that I'm working on and whatever, and like he can jump around and focus on whatever. But I don't think you get complete stories anymore.
I think this goes back to Christian's like original question of like, why can't anyone finish anything? I think it's like there's almost a fear to finish something too of like, what it's to your point with George R. R. Martin. Why does he have to finish the books? I think like some of these show creators are like, I don't think there was really an ending the Duffer Brothers could have done to satisfy the fans of Stranger Things because of the delays in production, because of the amount of time and what people loved about the show. It just was impossible to do with how the cast aged up and changed with where and what their limitations were. And so it is almost like you just kind of have to get to the end and get to the next project. And that's why I think it's like hard to finish these things off, because I bet if you gave them a truth serum of like, what was your ideal ending? This couldn't have been it. So I bet there was a different ending they most likely had in mind, but money and contracts and everything else in between changes that, right? What do Millie Bobby Brown's people say? What does David Harbour's people say? Like, what does Winona Ryder's people say? What does Netflix want? Like, there's all these. What do the fans want? What
there's
does
too
our
many.
mother
There's
want,
too.
you
There's
know?
too many
Like,
mouths to feed, right? Like,
yeah, and I think
especially the other thing too is when
that's the
you
bit.
have the actors. Like another interesting example of big blunders and fuck ups. How I Met Your Mother, right? First couple of seasons were pretty decent, interesting sitcom thing. Part of the reason I think that show had a big issue was you suddenly had your actors acting as producers and EPs on that show, and then they were giving in their opinions and dictating how the show goes, and it's being taken away, right, from what the original showrunners had. And then also, I think again, not having a good solid plan to go with or to start with.
That's an interesting one too. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
they knew the ending from episode 1.
No,
And-
yeah. So
like they were building to that, but the journey that got
to get
them
there was weird. Yeah,
was strange, and everyone. I don't. A lot of people hate Game of Thrones, but you hear the 1 or 2 people who are like, "I hated it. I understand why I hated it, but there are some redeeming things about it." How I Met Your Mother. That's a really good one. I think that's almost universal. I don't know a single person who watched that show who liked the ending, and that's fascinating because they had the ending in mind when they began.
So I think that's they had the opposite problem, right? Where they were so locked in on the ending. They shot it with the kids at the beginning of season 2, right?
Okay,
that was like that's what they said, that where they wanted the twist to be the mom. Spoiler alerts if you haven't watched How I Met Your Mother. The mom to die and Ted to end up with Robin at the end. And if you watch the first few seasons of the show, that makes sense. But the way the show developed, that actually didn't make sense. And that's why people hated it so much. That the showrunners were like, we're going to stick to the plan, even though our show has fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
And that's also bad writing in a different way, where you're so locked in on getting to that one endpoint that
you're stuck.
As you're
it's
naturally
rigid.
writing it,
you're inflexible.
You force it in instead of going the way the story has gone, right? So,
another one, right, that you could argue. Another fuck up that because of complicated writing and storytelling, Westworld.
Ooh,
Westworld basically made itself so complicated that nobody, I don't even think the writers or the showrunners knew what the hell was going on anymore.
I totally forgot about Westworld completely.
Well, Jonathan Nolan, the more famous of the Nolan brothers, if you will, he knows the ending. He's been trying to actually get it out for the last few years, and he's tried to publish it as a comic potentially, or like do an animated series or something like that. So they've been trying to finish that off, but I think that's the opposite one where nobody cares anymore.
Well, I mean, like the main thing though is basically it's like it was prestigious TV, like really good TV. Crazy ideas, and then it turned into like homework, right? Like when a show becomes, especially when it's going like week to week, and you have to like watch a YouTube recap on what happened prior to watching the next episode because it's so convoluted. Yeah, audiences are just going to be like, I don't care. I can't do this.
I think the show, it should have been a miniseries. It should have been 1 season, right? In retrospect, and I think they just tried to continue to build like Jonathan comes from the Nolan lineage where you continue to build on things and up the stakes, if you will, and they obviously tried to do that with Westworld, and it was just the first season was so perfect because it was complicated but it wasn't inaccessible, and then anything above that just became inaccessible, and each season, I think subsequent season, became more and more inaccessible to the point where it's like, to your point, Ravi, I remember watching season 4, and I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I don't say I'm dumb either. I didn't understand any dialogue because everything coming out of everybody's mouth made no sense to me. Maybe I'm just stupid. Like I was just like, I don't
stroke, and you just didn't.
I like actually just can't, like, they could be speaking any other language and I would comprehend the same amount. Truly.
Wasn't like season 4, like again, it's been many years since I saw the last season, but isn't the final season like humanity is dead for the most part, and it's just all die the robots?
Spoiler alert for Westworld: they all die. All humans.
And it is kind of like, was it Tessa Thompson's character's like, I'm wildly bored with my life?
Yeah, so something.
Well, if you remember what correctly, I remember, Tessa Thompson is Dolores, but like a different Dolores. She's like Tessa Thompson, evil Dolores, and then there's the other Dolores that also comes back in season 4, and then they all ascend to basically robot heaven, and then they're all back in the Westworld for one final confrontation. That will never happen because
yeah. Honestly, you know how season 1 should have ended? Because you're talking about a miniseries. It should have ended where they open the doors to the next park and it's just Jurassic World. Boom. And it's the prequel to Jurassic Park, right? And then that frames, yeah, it's like a fun little thing, right? And it just frames
the same writer, right? That did Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Creighton. And it reframes all those movies. Now you go into Jurassic Park and you're like, holy shit, this is all AI and none of it's real.
It's a theme park.
It would be sweet. That's how you end season 1. That's how you end it. Boom, walk away, do your next project. But they did.
The last one that I have, the last one I had was another series that not similar to like Westworld, where it's like you have to do your homework. Made audiences kind of just go, The Walking Dead, right? It went on for
great one.
How many fucking seasons and how many spinoffs are still going right now?
Yeah, it's still.
I think Arjuna, you and I had a weird jokey bet that what if Walking Dead made 8 seasons or something, and then we blew right past that.
It's like it went to 11 or 12, yeah, with about 5 or 6 spinoffs.
Like Daryl has his own spinoff, right?
Daryl has a spinoff. Negan has a spinoff. There's like an anthology spinoff. There was Fear of the Walking Dead, which is the first spinoff. That one's ended now. There was one about kids in Texas.
Walk a Texas Ranger.
There was like a. I feel like there was an animated one, probably.
Yeah.
And then
it's still going. And that's the crazy thing. It's still going.
And then Telltale did like a whole Walking Dead video game.
That's right.
Series of like different branching stories. Like that was a really long running game as well. It was way too much. Again, to the point where I think like you overkilled the IP and literally nobody cared anymore. Because I would say the one thing that actually almost rivaled Game of Thrones was The Walking Dead. Like I think once you got to like Walking Dead seasons 2 and 3 and 4, like I remember that vividly because I was in college at that time and Game of Thrones was going. And that was like the other big show people would really gather around and watch. And then I just think it became like too repetitive and stupid, where we just like went to one
same thing over and over again.
And
humanity sucks. Humanity this. Humanity that. I think though what's interesting, like the one thing that all these shows have in common is they all, for the most part, had a good, solid first season. Right? Yeah. They had a good season. They had an interesting
point,
new
they were
thing.
good.
They were good, right? They don't get to the point of being these big cultural things. I texted you guys about like Heated Rivalry, right? That's the new HBO show that everyone's going completely bananas for. And I have like a bold prediction that like everyone loves season 1. They're like, it's great writing, it's perfect storytelling. My theory is like with like many of these shows, by season 2, definitely season 3, if it gets to season 3, you'll start to see that show crumble and just kind of fall apart. Because to Arjuna's point, bigger budgets, more people are involved, more studio control, like all of these things become like a big factor. And then the show just starts to crumble. It's not what it was during the first season. So like if a Heated Rivalry doesn't want to be a big show that fails, they need to maintain very cheap budgets and try and keep the studio out as best as humanly possible, but that won't happen. So
it's just hard to like dictate what the creative vision is when I think creatives don't have the full creative vision too, right? Like I don't think there are many people walking around that's like, I have 4 seasons worth of the show, here you go, ready to go. It's like, no, I'm going to create something. And
what about when it comes to like continuations of old 10 plus old year like sci-fi franchises like Stargate, right? There's a Stargate SG-1 continuation. They had at least like 5 more seasons built out. They had like another, was it 3rd and 4th season for Stargate Continuum? Like they have plans.
Oh, Universe, right.
Yeah, Stargate, Universe, or Stargate Universe,
Universe. Continuum was the direct DVD movie.
With that though, there's
all 100 of us, 50 of us watched.
Yeah, but so that 2 things there. I think you just hit one nail on the head. Stargate, I think the scope of the show, like how big a show gets, also dictates most of this. all the shows that we've listed were huge and hit a lot of humanity. Something like Stargate is a bit more niche and relies heavily on like nostalgia and because it's so niche and because the audience is so small, expectations are a bit lower, and there probably isn't the same studio impetus to succeed. It's like you have your show, it's gonna fill this slot, have at it.
I
and you guys love it.
Name your favorite shows, and I guarantee you all of those shows, or almost all of them, were not like culturally big phenomenons, right?
True.
I think they were all popular,
except for Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan might be the only one, but that's an anime.
But I would also argue
that's different. Yeah, that's even
that's different. But I wouldn't say it's a fuck up. I mean, the only fuck up with Attack on Titan is that it took too fucking long.
It was the release. It was the release for the final season. We bitched and moaned about this.
Yeah. So but they took their time, and in my opinion, they nailed it. Like they're taking you time and getting it wrong, like Stranger Things. I know that's my opinion, and I know not everyone agrees. I love the ending, and then in my opinion, they took their time and nailed it, right? And also, anime is different. It takes a long fucking time to animate.
Yeah, and anime is never gonna have the same culture, like footprint as like a live action television show necessarily financially, in terms of just like the money, the marketing, the prestige it's gonna get. Popularity wise, like it's the some of the most popular stuff out there, obviously. But
yeah,
but even like your beloved shows, so let's take like
Dark.
Andor for example, right? Like on Disney Plus, like there's 2 seasons of Andor, and like a lot of people really love that show and consider it like one of the more perfect like
Star Wars
things to come out in recent history, right? And like one of the best things Star Wars has ever produced. It wasn't massively popular. It wasn't like it's not like broken into the cultural zeitgeist. It wasn't like Disney and Star Wars was like, oh my God,
we're back,
10,000 Andor toys. And that was because like a creative like Tony Gilroy got the like, as much as people complain about Kathleen Kennedy, credit to Kathleen Kennedy for just basically like, Tony, you take this, I'm going to keep the Jon Favreau's and Dave Filoni's and all the other people I have involved in Lucasfilm away from you, and you get to make the show you want to make. He got to make it. He got to make it the way he wanted, and it was pretty perfect.
It's the best Star Wars thing maybe ever.
It's just fantastic, right? So, but again, not massively popular. Something like the show you guys love on Netflix, Dark, right?
I'm watching it right now.
Yeah, like
for the 4th time.
Again, like it's a foreign show, so again, it doesn't have necessarily that like big studio backing of like it's got to have all X, Y, and Z. So they got to make it on their terms, finish it the way they want to. A Battlestar Galactica, again, very similar to Stargate, kind of a niche audience, niche show on Sci-Fi Channel, right? It's a Friday show. They had like a couple million viewers. They got to kind of make the show on their terms.
Yeah, it had that really stupid ending.
Not a great ending.
That's probably one that didn't.
In terms of like really bad sci-fi endings, I still think Battlestar, like overall as a show, love it. But that ending with fucking Starbuck and blink of an eye, just stupid.
Isn't that like Lost? Didn't Lost do the same thing?
Lost is also stupid.
Yeah. Where it's like they all died.
They all went to heaven.
They all went to
heaven. Was
they
the
exist
island?
on 2 planes.
Yeah, I don't know.
One plane that didn't crash, and one plane that did.
Oh no, Dark though. Dark. Perfect show. Perfect show.
So
Perfect show.
Solo Leveling.
Solo Leveling isn't done yet, so we have to wait.
There's plenty of time for Solo Leveling to fuck up,
and that wouldn't be a Hollywood fuck up. That would be a South Korea fuck up.
No, that'd be Japan. It's a Japanese.
I thought it was South Korean.
No. The story is South Korean. It's on it's a manhwa, which is South Korean manga, but it's a Japanese anime, which is super interesting.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
I'm just gonna then say it'll be an Asia fuck up.
The popularity of Solo Leveling has basically greenlit and expedited a whole bunch of South Korean adaptations coming to Japanese anime
studios.
So Japanese anime is about to like adapt a whole bunch of South Korean stuff, which should be very cool. South Korea, say what you will, excellent storytelling. in that part of the world right now.
Well, the movie we just saw. Oh my God! Why can't I never remember this
No
movie's
Other
name?
Choice? Is it
No
No Other
Other
Choice?
Choice. Thank you. Yeah.
Something like that?
Squid Game season 1.
Squid Game season 1. Yes.
Oh, Squid Game. Squid Game would have been a
Another
good one
great
for this
show.
list.
Well, Squid Game's it perfectly fits into our thesis of a show that they got to do intended only to be one season.
Yeah, and it should have been.
And then Netflix was like, "Hey, this made us a lot of money, and now we're going to get involved, and you're going to give us 2 more, and you're going to set up a U.S. spinoff."
Yeah.
I guess besides Dark, does everything Netflix touch just burns? Like story wise?
Yes.
Like think about Netflix
Either-
originals for a
either- either
second. Like I
burn-
can't think of.
Yeah, either
K-pop
it
Demon
burns.
Hunters is like an interesting one, right? Where
Mm.
that was
Well,
something,
that's the first movie, but they want more.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like,
Yeah.
I think they're able to find good things, and then, like you said, I think when they kind of put their claws into it, they drain it until I think
I believe
people are
Ravi
sick of
has
it
a
or it
movie
doesn't-
section, so we can talk.
Oh yeah, let's get into movies. Actually, looking at the movies I have, I don't have any Netflix original movies on here.
because most of them
and that's
bomb.
and part of the reason is because like we're talking like the big Hollywood fuck ups, right? And I think one of the biggest one, which was one of the biggest financial fuck ups, the Cats movie in 2019. Tons of
Mhm.
money poured in, CGI that was not finished at all. Uncanny Valley trauma. You know, people were like horrified and scared of this movie. And then basically kind of threw in the question of like who's greenlighting these types of movies, and then also why is Idris Elba taking these terrible roles?
Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen, yes.
What-
You
me and-
gotta
I
stretch
will
your
say,
range as an actor.
as bad as Cats is, one of my favorite movie theater experiences was Cats.
For real, can you explain why?
Okay,
Oh,
because when I went into the theater, everybody in that theater was either drunk or just having a really great time, and it was just like one of those communal experiences. It's like what I imagine the room screenings were like, you know, where people would bring the spoons and just kind of like have a good performative time with it. Like that's what this movie felt like. Everybody knew this was bad, it was stupid, it was silly, and everyone's on the same page of just kind of being like having fun with it, and that's what made it actually quite enjoyable.
Snakes on a Plane was like that.
Yeah, it's just like
Snakes
it's like
on Plane, yeah, but Snakes on Plane though like turned a profit. This did not.
Yeah,
turn a profit.
no. I was just saying for the pure movie theater experience, Snakes on a Plane is what was mine. That's the one I got to experience.
Yeah, so Cats had a budget, just a production budget. Forget marketing. Production budget of 100 million. It brought in worldwide about 75 million.
Oh,
Their estimated loss with marketing throws it at a loss of around 150 million.
okay. Wow.
It's not the worst, but it was one of the earliest. Like this again, this is pre-COVID.
Yeah.
After COVID, losses of movies and things like here's a really good one, The Flash.
Yeah.
The Flash is a big one because
The Flash is huge in terms of how much money that one lost.
on that movie.
It grossed 200 million against the 200 million, but it ended up losing again 150 to 200 million because of marketing.
A big one is Solo, a Star Wars story.
Solo is also on my list. Solo, because of production issues. Because they did a bunch of reshoots.
Kind of killed a lot of Star Wars.
Killed a ton of Star Wars.
And I think we all liked that movie, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not like a universally panned movie. I think a lot of people were like, this was fine. I think there's a good small section of people who really liked it. And I think a lot of people were like, this is good.
And a lot of people who didn't.
But I think the thing with Solo that's interesting is because Solo failed so poorly box office and critically because I think of what happened with Last Jedi. So Last Jedi came out in December, about 5 months. So Solo came out in around May, June. And it was basically the Star Wars fatigue. I think if you had, because correct me if I'm wrong, it was then 2019 or 2018 is Solo, 2019 is the last of the sequels.
Rise of Skywalker.
If you just pushed everything a year, I think you would have been better.
I think if Solo it comes out in 2026, 7 years right after since a Star Wars movie, I bet that movie turns a profit, honestly.
I mean,
Yeah.
truly, yeah.
Like Star
Especially
Wars,
after how poor the sequel stuff
it
did.
also just feels like Star Wars is an IP that's built on time. It, like you
Yeah.
just you can't marvelize it. Like you actually need to let the stories breathe and marinate, and like you
Yes.
need to create that kind of want, right, with these like
Nostalgia.
epics. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's also though from like just from a straight storytelling perspective, like, you know, we always use our parents as like our like key demographic of like how would they understand this in terms of it being presented. Like you're a casual Star Wars person, right? And you're like, oh, we're in this new sequel thing, right? We got Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and then I keep want to say Starkiller. What's the last one called?
Rise of Skywalker.
Thank you. And Rise of Skywalker. And then in the middle of all of these movies coming out, you have this Solo movie that takes place 40, 50 years before any of the events of this new sequel. Like, that's confusing.
Well,
Sure is.
I will say though, like Rogue One came out in what 2017.
2017, yeah.
And like obviously that was a huge success. So I don't think it was necessarily confusing. I think it was just part of it was the fatigue. I think part of it also was like if you're a movie executive and you're thinking of like what am I mining in terms of Star Wars? I get that Han Solo is a popular character, but it's Harrison Ford as Han Solo that's a popular character, not Han Solo without Harrison Ford. So I think the mistake was ever trying to have someone play Han Solo. Like, and I think Alden did actually a very good job of trying to be Han Solo. But people were just not going to buy that. I think we were all like, "This is so stupid! Like, why would this be the second like non-Star Wars saga movie that ever came out?" And it was just a bad idea.
What they should have done instead is like, and again, beyond Mando and Grogu, you know, they have a hard time like with the original new characters. Like obviously with Rogue One, they found success in that with Andor and obviously the show. But I think what you could have done instead is like taking the two leads and instead of having them play like Lando and Han, just come up with new characters and like set it in the sequel time period and copy the same idea of what Han is, but call it something completely different. And like
make him like a different species and
San Holo.
San Holo.
Stan Holodeck.
Yeah, there you go. And then the other ones that, you know, the other kind of movies that were kind of big mess ups, not necessarily just because of box office numbers, but just becoming like an internet joke. Morbius.
Morbin time.
Dark Phoenix, and then the reboot Fantastic Four movie, the one with Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, that one is another big one. Yeah, Miles Teller.
That's great.
A couple big recent ones on the superhero genre for the last couple of years. Joker, Folie à Deux.
I never saw that. Did anyone?
Same.
I mean, you saw it, right?
It's terrible.
Awful.
Like it's
truly awful.
If you're feeling painful, like if you want pain, you should throw that movie on. Truly.
Oh, well, I don't think anyone needs more pain right now.
If you're like, man, I want to be hurt by a movie, that's the one to watch.
Wow, I would throw on Requiem for a Dream, but you're just saying throw on Joker 2.
Joker 2. Yeah. If you never want to watch Joaquin Phoenix again, that's the one.
That bad. Wow. The one thing I brought to this list is also a superhero movie, and it's not necessarily a box office. It's also superhero. It's not necessarily a box office failure, but Batman versus Superman for several reasons. For several reasons,
killed the DCEU.
Yes, number one came out in 2016. Big year for bad movies. And just overall things getting started and not finishing. Killed the DCEU. But the best example I can think of with an A+ trailer and a D- movie. The trailer was so fucking good. I don't know if you remember the icon trailer. Tell me, do you bleed? You will. It was like, I remember I was at work, me and all of my coworkers would watch that trailer like once a week, just getting so ready for this movie. And then we saw the movie and it was
The
it was
biggest
utter
letdown.
dog shit. And honestly,
yeah.
like Juna said, it kind of
did.
buried the DCEU. It buried it. Like every other movie after that, every DC movie that came out after that felt like it was trying to absolve Batman versus Superman of its sins, and it just couldn't. It made it worse. It just kept
people forget in the early, like, this was like phase 2, phase 3 of the MCU, and like phase 2 of the MCU was a little rocky because you had Age of Ultron, which was like good but not great. People were like, this is not as good as Avengers. And right on the heels of Age of Ultron is they had that Comic-Con or that convention or whatever where they announced Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck comes out, and the hype had never been higher. And it was like the moment where I was like,
DC's gonna do it.
the DC can do it, right? Like, because Superman had come out with Henry Cavill, and people were like, this was solid, this was good.
It was different.
Oh my God, he killed, Zod, blah, 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 whatever. But like, this was the moment where people were like, holy shit, like, it's coming out. It with that same year, Civil War came out too, so they went head to head. Like, you had these big crossover events, right? And remember, Civil War was a big moment for the MCU because I was introducing Spider-Man and Black Panther. So like, you're introducing these new pivotal key characters, and you also have Batman versus Superman. And honestly, going into that year, I think people were more hyped for Batman v Superman than Civil War. Truly,
I was from the trailer.
No, same here.
Because obviously people love him now, but I think people were a little bit wary of like a really young Superman, or sorry, not Superman, a really young Spider-Man. People were excited for Black Panther, but they were like,
who is that?
Not well. I think a lot of people were like that, but then I think other people who were precious to the character were like, "Oh my God, are they going to nail this? Or are they going to fuck it up?" Right? So there was some nervousness there, but Batman and Superman are like two of the biggest superhero characters. We're finally going to see them on screen together. It's like literally the most anticipated event, I think, for comic book fans in general, regardless of if you have a stake in the fight with like Marvel or DC. And then the movie came out, it was absolute dog shit, and I think it killed any goodwill DC has ever had. It's just never recovered from there fully. I think James Gunn's did as good of a job as he could with Superman, but like, I don't know how you ever fix that. Like, it's 10 years going and you don't. So that's
you have to wait.
definitely
You have to wait for that whole cast to die, and then reboot it.
I don't think this movie. Yeah, that's fair. This wasn't a huge box office failure, but I want to add X-Men: The Last Stand to this list.
That's a good one.
I vividly remember this movie, and I forget. I was talking with someone about this. It's like, what was the first movie you watched and realized it was bad? And I think X-Men: The Last Stand, when I was 14, was that first time. Like, I walked into a movie.
Well, this is a bad movie.
And
I get it.
It's a bad movie.
Because when you're a kid, you're like,
no, it's true.
Yeah, you're in the movie and
everything
the experience
good.
is amazing.
Yeah, you're like, everything is genius, right? We all have that like one age where you're like, I just watched this movie and it's so good.
You know what it was for me? And I don't think it's the same for you guys. It's because I was slightly older. Star Wars Episode 2. I wanted to love that movie, and I saw it in theaters, and I came out. Dad was like, I don't get it. And I'm like, I didn't say anything, but I'm like, I was like, it wasn't good.
No, Dad said, I remember Dad said, why is the technology better if it's in the past?
Right.
In terms of like the
ships and the weapons and stuff.
Yeah, that was the
we
first
saw
time.
that in Londonderry.
Yeah, that was the first time. That was the first movie I was watching. I was like, oh, this is a bad. Bad.
So
movie.
I loved it because I was 9.
Yeah,
10.
you were.
So I was like,
and that's who it was made for. If you keep that in mind. Yeah, if you keep that in mind. But yeah.
No, so seeing that movie was tough, and it also did kill the X-Men. Like, it did. They had to reboot
franchise killers.
Well, they were like, we only going to do this Wolverine movie, and that was bad. And then they rebooted X-Men with First Class, right? So, and then now you've said goodbye to the X-Men in like 7 straight movies, and it will be an 8th this year in Doomsday.
That's right, with Doomsday. Yeah, everything gets rebooted.
We get to say goodbye to the X-Men.
Could you argue, like, speaking of Hollywood fuck ups, like the MCU, the last, I'm gonna say 5 years. I'm gonna say since Endgame.
Ooh.
Has it been just like the longest fuck up? Like, in terms of, like, again, from if you're looking solely at a numbers game, no, that thing is bringing in money. It's not
but
they're
not
not
as
losing
much
money.
It's certainly
No.
it's certainly
Not
it's
as much money,
sales
but
hits.
from like in terms of like a critical thinking standpoint and like also an entertainment standpoint, is it a fuck up? Because right, with Doomsday and then Secret Wars or whatever it's going to be called coming, like they are literally rebooting the whole thing, and one would argue they're rebooting the whole thing because they've lost the plot, right? And they need to like start over.
They've been losing the plot for a long time. I mean,
Well, it's gone the
yeah.
way of a comic book, right? Like these things, people jump off at
it's
something.
true.
Like
It's true.
truly, like people, you can only maintain people's attention for so long. But if you try to make things one continuous story, people will find a natural endpoint. And I think when you title a movie Endgame, people are like, "This is where I'm going to jump off." Oh, you killed Iron Man, the guy that started the story.
Perfect finish.
I think I'm just gonna like end it here. Like,
there's no point continuing.
I was talking to Sahara about this. You guys never watched the show Glee, but like Glee was a really big and popular show. It went for 6 seasons. I watched the first 3 seasons. In the 3rd season, spoiler alert for those who haven't watched Glee, they finally win the high school competition. And then I was like, okay, I have no reason to watch this show anymore. They have set out to do what they intended to do, and I never watched it again. And I'm glad I did, because apparently it got really bad because they basically graduated the cast and then brought in the next generation. And it's just like, I don't care.
You just reminded me. Sorry, I'm gonna time travel a little bit. Somebody asked Ravi or Juna asked a show that Netflix has finished and nailed.
Yeah.
Could you say Cobra Kai? I don't know why Glee remind me of Cobra Kai, but could you say Cobra Kai?
Very similar.
Yeah, high school. They're winning the high school thing. Yeah.
But again, I will say to that show, it wasn't like a runaway success. I think it was actually more successful when it was on like YouTube TV, and then they brought it to YouTube Red, and then they brought it to Netflix, and like it still had a following, but it wasn't like crazy popular. And that show, I think people, maybe it's sacrilegious on this podcast, but would say is bad.
Well,
I think if it fell off, like it definitely fell off,
kind
like
of trashy TV.
to the point, like when Netflix is like not marketing their own shows, right?
Yeah.
It kind of means they don't even have faith in it.
But again, gets back to our point. That allows the creators to do what they want, and they wanted to make it kind of this like soap opera type, like insane show, and it worked.
Honestly,
right?
that's why it worked. It was so trashy.
It actually worked.
That show made me realize why Hallmark is a thing. It made me realize why people watch soap operas.
Yep. Or reality TV.
Or daytime television, right?
Yep.
Like I was like, oh, sometimes you just want trash.
Yeah, it scratches an itch. Like it scratches an itch or a desire of what you want. And I think it's not like, there are some people who watch that stuff and are like, this is objectively good. But I think the majority of people are like, I know this isn't good, but it's like, why would I eat like a tray of cookies? Because it's not healthy for me, but it tastes.
But they're delicious.
Yeah,
and you're gonna die one day anyway.
Real quick, die happy.
I have a list of the biggest box office failures here,
which
is basically adjusted for inflation in terms of the loss. The number 1 movie actually came out in 2023. It is a Marvel movie. It was called The Marvels. It lost, adjusted for inflation, about $245 million.
Oh, that makes sense. Because a lot of people were like just actively boycotting it, and also like it caused so much backlash. Like people were just like, I refuse to see this movie for all kinds of reasons. So
and then this is interesting. Number 2 on the list. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. Another Disney movie came out in 2012. It lost about almost $270 million.
Holy shit!
Adjusted for inflation. It was John Carter.
Oh, that makes sense. Yep.
I think I knew that. Like that's a famous one for like how much money that lost.
Honestly,
John Carter.
John Carter, not a bad movie.
Really?
So I have the same list up there. Did you see what number 4 is? 1999, Antonio Banderas classic.
No, wait. I think you've sorted yours different.
Oh.
Well, it's for adjusted for inflation. This one's 130 to maybe 243 million, but it's the 13th Warrior.
Oh, that's a fantastic movie.
That's
I
a
love that
great
movie.
movie.
I
I
know,
thought
yeah.
that was sick.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I
I
don't know
remember
if it's
watching
still
that
holds up.
movie because we watched it at
We
home.
would watch it like a lot because it
Yeah.
was like one of those DVD. Like I think it was one of those movies that came for free when you like got the DVD player. Like you would
Yeah.
Now it
mail in
makes
that
sense.
thing. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh man, the 13th Warrior. Yeah.
13th Warrior, Battleship.
Spitting out ice. Battleship's
is,
on there. Yeah.
on there.
What about Battle for LA? Yeah. Do you remember who did I see that movie with? Was
With
it both
I
of
think
you?
we saw that
You guys saw
Burbank,
it.
Oh my god,
2011. Yeah.
What an
I'm
experience. Remember?
pretty sure because we had gone out like drinking before,
Yeah.
and
we
I ended
always-
up falling asleep.
Oh man, wait, were you awake though for the Aaron Eckhart speech? I gotta look this up on
I
YouTube.
don't
haven't seen it
remember.
in
I
so
don't
long.
remember.
I remember.
He gives
that.
this like
He was
5-minute
saying-
monologue of like we're gonna save like calls out all of his men like you have a baby, you're gonna be something, and he ends the speech with like, but none of that matters because we're all gonna die. He's they're gonna kill us. It was like such a ridiculous speech. I gotta find it. Aaron
Jesus.
Eckhart, and this is like on the heels of like Two-Face, I believe, like him playing Two-Face. Like that was he shot into that was the height of his powers, right before Battle for LA because of the Dark Knight.
Mhm.
Before that, he was kind of B-list. Like he Thank You for Smoking. Like he had a very not minor roles,
The
but
Core,
less the core. Yeah, good,
classic,
kind of an entertaining
end of
movie.
the world movie. Yeah.
Kind of entertaining. But like bit roles, and then Battle for LA. I felt like was going to be his first like solo. I'm a superstar, and it just flopped. Maybe that's like an honorable mention for like celebrity fuck up. Not that he fucked up, but like
Well, that's the thing though.
he
Like,
swung and missed.
I mean, so Chris Evans, right, recently came out and said like he admits that he picked bad roles post his Marvel run, right? Like same with Robert Downey Jr. Like, and that is a fuck up, right? That is a fuck up. I
And
think.
where
on the
where
actor's
does that
part.
lead them back to?
Their actor
to
or their
Marvel.
managers? Yeah, back to Marvel, basically, back to what you know.
Back to Thanos.
But I mean, it is a fuck up. But like, I mean, obviously, right off the bat, the most famous fuck up, I think, in modern time is like what Will Smith did, right, at the Oscars, the slap. Would
Literally,
you say
I-
he's
Literally,
come
the
back
night he
since?
finally won the Oscar, like he
Yeah.
won
Yeah.
Best Actor. He was the Hollywood, A-list box office star in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
He
He
had
has like
gotten
an
nominated
unmatched
a
run.
couple times before. Right. He had a great run. He had a couple Oscar noms then later, with a few different movies. And then finally gets the win. I think it's like third time or fourth time or whatever. And then
Well, he
literally.
remember, so how that night played out. He
Yeah,
slapped
slap happened
Chris
slapped
Rock
first.
first.
I mean,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
knew he was he knew he was going to win, like the way things
Right.
had been trending. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of just mind-boggling. It's just like mind-boggling that that's the way it went. To be honest,
Will, I don't know why. It was weird because I was thinking about Will Smith. I don't know why. A couple days ago, because I think I was thinking about like some of his more entertaining movies during his like run, and so I think there was like Hancock. What was the zombie one? Really good first half, and then
and they're
lackluster
making a
second
sequel
half.
to it.
Oh, they are. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, what's it called? It was Will Smith zombie movie. What is it? It is I Am Legend. 2007. Really good movie. Really good movie. Like some of his, like I said, an unmatched run. Like I think he had 7 straight years where he was like the top box office star or something like that. Like insane. And yeah, I was just like, so like what happened to him? But you could make an argument even before the slap. He was already obviously he's not what he was in age, and that will do that to anyone, right? Time is undefeated. Unless you pull like a Daniel Day-Lewis, disappear off the face of the earth, and then come back and boom, I don't know where I was going with this, but
I forgot what I was going
Yeah.
to say.
Well, no, I
Well,
mean Daniel
but-
Day-Lewis
but
though
the
he
movies-
only came back because of his son.
Son directed. the
yeah.
movie.
I
Yeah.
will say this: so just like movies, actors can be oversaturated, and so the public does get
The
tired of
Rock.
people. We're seeing it. We're seeing it with guys like The Rock, but more recently, like Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell, I think they haven't fallen off, but it could be coming. Tom Holland, Pedro Pascal. People have argued he's oversaturated.
Pedro
Chris
Pascal
Pratt.
is a really great call, because I think like even in 2024 when he just had so many movies and things coming out, people were like, I'm sick of Pedro Pascal. Yeah, and
I
I
mean,
think
look what's happening this year, right? He's got Mando and Grogu in the summer, and then he's got Doomsday at the end of the year. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of Pedro interviews and content coming. Yeah,
I also don't think it's a mistake
Timothy
that like
Chalamet might be another one.
Fantastic Four kind of didn't hit financially. Like it wasn't unsuccessful, and I think Marvel and Disney has leaned away from marketing him as a lead for these movies when that was the intent when they brought him on. So I think there's repercussions there, right? In terms of just like these studios and these places will adjust as needed. I think it's like, to go back to Aaron Eckhart and the Harvey Dent quote, it's like you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right? I think there's just like, especially with the way people are in 2026, I think people are just highly online and more cynical because you have more of an echo chamber to like feed into those thoughts and those ideas. And I
also
think,
like you'll see social media clips of like before social media and the internet, you'd only see these people in the movies on the screen. But now because of social media and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky and
it's like you take the Marvel thing, right? It's like the Marvel thing where it's like phase 1 through 3 is like X amount of hours, and phase 4 is like almost 8 times as long because there's all these TV shows. But take that now with actors. Like some actors still find a way to be extremely private, like a Leonardo DiCaprio who doesn't give interviews, right? And so I think part of what still works for his allure is like people like him and want to see him, and the only way you can do that is at the movie theater. You can't put on Hot Ones
or the Golden Globes.
Watch him. Yeah, but even so, it's like you get to watch him, but you don't really hear anything.
Or what about those viral social media clips of him talking to a lady across the room? Those moments went viral because he was being really animated. You didn't see those? Yeah, you should look those up. You shouldn't. They're not that cool. Yeah, but they're there. But that's what I'm saying is they're there. Yeah.
But that's what I think is interesting. It is almost, and I wonder if these like performers and actors even view the oversaturation as a failure, or just like the inevitable outcome. Like it's almost like an athlete, right? Where it's like, well, I just got to cash in when I can, right? So like take a Sydney Sweeney or Glenn Powell, for example. Like I'm young and people find me attractive, so like I'm going to do as many things as I can while I still have that. And if that risks me being overexposed or taking on the wrong roles, so be it. I'm going to cash out, get as much money as possible, get the influence and the followers I can. If I have to retreat and pull back for a few years, I can do that. And then I
think a lot of people these days don't even plan on doing it forever. They're like, hey, I'm going to act in my 20s and 30s. In my 40s, I think I'm just going to go do something else. I think a lot of people think like that. And it's interesting too, because Denzel had a quote a few years back. I think he was asked, it's like, why don't you do more roles? Like, we know you could do more if you wanted. And he literally says, and this is years ago, because if I do more roles, the public will get sick of seeing me and I lose my impact as an actor. So I would call these true actors too, because their craft is acting, and the more you know about someone in their personal life and seeing them not acting,
you can't be immersed.
You lose that whole.
Their performance is lessened. The next time you see them, not necessarily the past performances, but like the next time you see Glenn Powell, you're like, I've seen everything. Next time you see Sydney Sweeney, next time you see Timothy Chalamet. Most of these young actors, to be honest, this might be a young actor problem because of social media, of course. But you've seen so much of them, and it's like, I'm not seeing anything else. We've seen it all. I've seen all your emotions. I've seen your true emotions. I've seen you flip out at the guy at the restaurant because of social media, right? It's like, I've actually seen you angry, and your acting is not that good because I've seen you actually angry. Stuff like that. So, oversaturation for sure.
That's what people love Cillian Murphy. He just shows up for the movie.
Yeah.
He shows up for and he does the mandated press junket, and then that's it.
And he's just always passively aggressively annoyed. People love him for that. Yeah.
I don't think he's
Especially
annoyed.
when they mess up where he's from.
He's just
He's
like
a
he's just a actual normal dude who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. He
He's
is
just
a
like,
proud
I'd like to go
Irishman who
home.
hates England. I respect him for that.
Well, that's going to cover.
Did you hear the story? He was living in England. His kids were starting to develop an English accent. He's like, we're not having this. And he moved their asses back to Ireland.
That's actually
Wow,
I
his
love that.
disdain for England was that big. Jeez.
There's a clip of he's in like a line and Prince at the time, Prince Charles is like shaking hands with people next to him, and he's just giving Prince Charles the death glare. Like proud Irishman, I think, right there.
Well, I mean, he might deserve that.
Oh, 100%. Dude,
Is there any before we wrap? Is there any examples of like people in Hollywood, whether it's an actor, or, you know, we even started talking about at the top of this pod, talking about like creatives, like a Duffer Brothers or anything that have kind of had the arc of like the rise and fall and then the rise again. You know, the people who find that second act, if you will, in terms of like.
I mean, that would be Robert Downey Jr. No,
that's a good one.
He was a big star right in the 80s, 90s, and then he had his drug problem. Then he went to rehab, and then he was
a bigger star.
So then sorry?
And then he came out a bigger star with like
he came out a huge star.
He became the number. I mean,
but then you could argue like post MCU though, like besides Oppenheimer, like
well, he won the Oscar. He's back on, and then he came back.
Well, I gotta wait for Doctor Doom. If he kills it as Doctor Doom, he'll be right back there.
You know what? He's gonna get an Oscar for his performance as Doctor Doom.
No, that cast is way too big for
the
anyone.
Only
to
way
get an Oscar in that
we've
movie.
figured out, we already cracked the code on how to win an Oscar for a superhero movie. You have to play the Joker. So Barry Keoghan apparently is going to be in the Batman Part 2, reprising his role as the Joker. So he's the next guy that's going to get nominated.
Ooh.
We'll see. I mean, he just has to play that. What was that movie he dances to? Like,
oh yeah, that weird,
that weird movie. He just has to play that character as the Joker, and then you'll win.
That's not the name of the movie, but that's what it should be called.
Great movie too, with Jacob Elordi and God, what was that?
I love how
you
we
guys
don't know what it
made
is.
me watch that movie. I had no interest in it, and June and Sahara like, you got to watch it and let us know what you think.
Because it's so fucking weird.
It is.
To be fair, I was coming off anesthesia when
Oh wow, okay. I don't recommend that movie.
Saltburn.
Saltburn.
Great movie. There we go. Yeah.
Great weird experience.
I'm really trying to think of the second act thing because that's a really good question. Could you say someone like Steven Spielberg? But I don't know.
He's got that new UFO alien movie coming out next year. This year that looks actually quite interesting.
He's had such a fascinating career because he was kind of like the Will Smith of directors in the 80s, hit after hit after hit after hit, couldn't miss every movie. Like toward the end of that run, he could do whatever he wanted. It was insane, right? I don't think you've ever seen a director have a run like that. Christopher Nolan maybe comes close. But then he sort of fell off. He has a rut. He has like a rut, I think, in the early 2000s where his movies are pretty mid. But I don't know what he's done recently.
Probably starting with War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Like it's an okay adaptation, but
for Spielberg, pretty.
Or I wouldn't have cast Tom Cruise. They should have gone someone who could do
Cruise
emotion.
Is the one who killed his career. I agree.
Yeah.
Not that Steven Spielberg's career is dead. That's silly.
I guess the only other director I can think of who's had a rise and fall and a re-rise and also a fall again would be M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah.
A rise and then fall again, and it might be a rise, maybe not.
Maybe a rise again, though. I don't know if you guys saw
That's
Trap.
It's a roller coaster of a career.
But
that's true.
Trap was good. I liked it.
It was
weird.
Which one?
He's
Trap.
like in the middle
Trap.
of like all of these things are okay because like Split was the height again, and then Glass came out and we were like, wow, this was terrible. And then like his last four have been Old, Knock at the Cabin, Trap, or those were his last three, and then Remain will be his movie that comes out this year. And like Old, Knock at the Cabin, and Trap are all kind of like meh.
Wait, Knock at the Cabin, was that Dave Bautista?
Yes.
Okay, I actually kind of like that movie. It's not great, by any means.
That's a
but
movie though where
wasn't
the
bad.
trailer was better than the movie.
That's kind
I
of
would
been his last 3 movies. I think Old, Knock at the Cabin, and Trap, all the trailers are better than the actual movies themselves. But they're all better than like The Happening and The Last Airbender and After Earth, when he was like really, we were like, what
those
are
were
you
dog
doing?
absolute dog shit. Like
I
what,
like
what
the
happened,
I like the Happening solely for Mark Wahlberg's line of "What's happening?"
Still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it.
Oh my god, don't! I've only seen the second half. Supposed to, there was like a Happening watch party drinking game at college, and I was working, so I only got there for the second half. So I only did the second half of the movie, and you just take a sip. Literally, anytime the word happen, happening, happened, any variation of the word happen, and I was wasted by the end of the movie. I was there just for one half. Because that's like one line. Mark Wahlberg's like, "This can't be happening. What's happening? Are you kidding me? This is really happening?" He says it like 3 times. And you're like, "Drink." You have to like,
Wait, Arjuna.
beer.
Wait, Christian, whenever you're in town again, I think we should play that game.
We absolutely should. Oh my god! Just so I can see the first half of the movie.
Thank God.
Are there
All right,
any
well-
video games? that are
No, this
fuck-ups?
is Hollywood fuck ups.
Oh,
Maybe Grand Theft Auto 6. Maybe
Yeah.
this is going to be the most anticipated video game of all time.
Yeah.
Then it'll be the biggest
Rockstar
blunder.
obviously has like a sterling reputation and has, I think, even with the highest of expectations, has still delivered. So like, would be kind of surprising if GTA 6 didn't land, but I mean, it could. Like, I don't think there's ever been a game more anticipated. So
there
I
has
mean, Cyberpunk had a huge anticipation. I mean, definitely not anywhere near as GTA 6, and then that was a huge fuck up when it
Colossal.
released. Yeah,
but
so
it's better now, right? I heard it's really good now. I haven't played it.
I'm still not trying it.
Yeah.
That hype left a long time ago. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here on Was It Good. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, follow along on youtube.com/wasitgood. Check us out on TikTok at Was It Good Pod and Instagram at Was It Good. Next host is going to be Christian, and it sounds like he's already got an idea. Christian, do you want to tease the idea?
Yeah, let's do it. I don't think Arjuna knows the full idea either, so we're breaking it to him as well. The next pod will feature a 64 participant tournament, a battle royale to the death. Not really. I will be selecting 64 of our beloved fictional characters from our childhood, young adults, maybe even adults, fictional characters, and I will randomize them into a 64 fictional character tournament bracket, and we will go character by character, matchup by matchup, eliminating who's the better character. It doesn't matter any criteria you want. There's 3 of us, so it's perfect. There will always be a winner. There are no ties. We'll go away from 64 to 32 to 16 to 8 to 4 to 2. Have the Super Bowl of fictional characters, our fictional characters, the Ram Gopal fictional characters. It'll be totally biased, totally subjective, but it'll be fun.
can we put like real-ish people who are fictional characters, like Tom Brady?
No. And Arjuna, I'm selecting the 64 to keep this relatively simple.
Oh, that seems biased.
Well, because if we all picked it, we'd have so many duplicates, and it would just be a nightmare. So, how about this?
Yeah, I think he's
here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do. I'll generate a list of like 80, and then you guys will circle 64. Your favorite 64, and we'll just cross-reference. That's the first way I can think of it. So
Drake May will be on.
next pod. Drake May is not going to be on there, Juno. He's a real person, I think.
He didn't look real on Sunday.